that fly just came in. Good afternoon. Hello. Fly just came in, so it destroyed my electricity and everything, the flooding. And I'm busy sorting out the rubbish, which is due to be cleared tomorrow, which I've paid for. So in this video, I'm going to try and talk about the subject, the original attack, why my daughter and I were separated, apart from the money side and the social side of it. I've also contacted the NHS regarding mental health services to make a complaint to say that they're targeting those of us who don't have any family alive or close nearby, the single parents and the migrants. This has been happening for nearly 20 years now, and things are only getting worse. And they're only more empowered, which is the hard-hitting right who is behaving as the left that I don't like. However, the right that does behave as the right, I do like. The left who is behaving as the right, I don't like. The left who behave as... No, the left that behaves as a right, I do like. Because they're then making their thinking and their mindset more balanced. Because if it's only left thinking, the left side of the brain, it's less balanced. So I like the lefts who are behaving as the right. I don't like the left who behaves as hard left. So that's what I've learned in the 6 years of using social media, and how the implication of being abandoned and neglected medically, not ever voting, and not ever giving me a chance to make progress because they're blocking it or they're always getting in the way. So I've noticed that the hard right who is behaving as the left are the most dangerous, and they're trolls, while the left who is behaving as the left are green. They're goblins. So they consume too much, and they also destroy too much, in the sense of they would sacrifice their own children. This is the hard left who does not behave as the right. They would sacrifice their own children to save themselves. So for example, when you do know that you're overpowered and that you are outnumbered, and that you do know that when a certain political stance is going to destroy many of your own people, why do you insist to have it? When you do know that your own politicians have gone to prison by your political stance, why do you carry on with it? And there's no changes. So for example, the Black Lives Matter, I think it was George Soros who created it. He's in prison, and yet they still keep it. And so this is why the blacks are hated by the whites, because of this hypocrisy that they say that the whites are the slave masters, when in fact, given the chance, the blacks would also be slave masters. And even God says so in the Bible, that you would turn God into a slave. So that's what gives you bad luck as the black society that is the worst hypocrite when it comes to sacrificing their own and being slave masters too, and dominating the world of a political stance rather than saying all lives matter. I mean, we've had all people be persecuted for their racial profiling. It isn't only the blacks. We've had all types of people for many generations who were taken into bondage. So my country, for example, Serbian means slave. So we were taken on by the Arabs, and a lot of the European were taken by the Jewish Arabs, taken over by the Jewish Arab and the Muslim Arabs, given the chance, because they have a stronger physical and weaponal stance. Drinking apple juice. So when will they ever learn? So I am exposing their bad luck, how they're doing their own self-harm. And it's Friday the 13th today, which they say is very superstitious. Oof. I have said I would rather be around witches and wizards who are hurting and then humbled. But some of them are so bad, even when they're hurting, they're still not humbled. So I will unsubscribe. So when I say hurting and being humbled, I mean give up doing self-harm and give up in doing evil. So this is why I will unsubscribe. This is why I will leave, because there's many witches and wizards who are witches and wizards. They don't even realize that they're witches and wizards, which is everything to do with sinners. So that they talk, but they don't put to practice what they talk about. And this is also where they clash. They're saying that the black people are lazy, disabled people are lazy, people who are claiming state benefits are lazy, and all of this is a stereotype. I mean, how on earth are you supposed to work when you can't stand up straight? In my case, I tried peeling a potato with a knife, standing up for not even 5 minutes. I was in agony. I felt I had to stand on one leg. And so, yeah, and that pain will eventually, I hope to God, disappear. So I'm having my pips, apple juice, and it's working with nature. So I will compliment the blacks to say it is the blacks that made the road in America and made farming industry and using organic juices and cooking recipes and all types of flavors, including Kentucky Fried Chicken, were stolen from the blacks, where they were handpicking all orchards and everything that they did in America to provide food and social and music. It was the blacks and it was the immigrants. And and so these jealous and envious white thugs would come and historically and today attack people who are most talented in the poor communities and not give them the opportunity to be the stars that they really are. Ooh, 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 ooh. So they're the same as the pesticides or pests, but they're saying, oh well, we're good because we'll keep the pests away. And so this is the hypocrisy, because in the whites I would compliment them also to say it is the Europeans who made the roads in England, and it is the Europeans who have done all these wonderful things in England. Mainly the Italians, but the Italians are also very similar to the Serbians, and so why are we hated so much? It is awful. So the Germans and the Nazis have stolen a lot of things from Serbia and has forced Serbia, such as the Black Forest cake, pudding, and so many other things. And this is why I don't like the fascists, is that they come and sponge off of you, they steal your good resources for themselves, and which will next point me to the direction of King Charles. He said he didn't like Donald Trump, and he wants to stay away from him, and many of his political affiliated lot would also be anti-Trump. Then what can Charles do to make England anti-Israel? It's not the people that live in Israel. It's the authorities, the leaders. Hello again, my pigeon friend over there. It always comes to see me, and that's another reason why I leave the windows open, because it gets trapped in the bathroom and it's doing self-harm as a stupid pigeon. It keeps bashing its brain against the window. The window had turned all yellow. It was disgusting, and it pooped everywhere. And I had to clean with a mop and a bucket mop. The pigeon literally killed itself with the window shut. So self-harm is a serious problem, and it is also satanic worship to say, oh, I would rather eat poop. I would rather. So this is the option that we have. We would rather eat poop in human worship than to follow President Donald Trump's rules. This is awful. Pause. So the true humble sinners will have a sense of harm, that they felt that they are harmed, both by the devil and by God who's condemning them. But where is the true capacity to be humbled and change? So I had been barren, I had been alone as a result of these same type of political activists. First of all, they acknowledged that what it is like to not have a big family. Then second of all, they acknowledged that I didn't have many friends. Third of all, they acknowledged that I didn't have a lot of money. And fourth of all, they accused me of their own very guilt, where they make children an extension of them, to say that I am my daughter and my daughter is me, daughter like mother, which is all wrong and wicked, because that is not part of my domestic policy. So this is how I'm still being persecuted. Even now she's 20 years old, has got her own boyfriend, her own education. They're boasting that she's better off without me, and turn my daughter against me by forcing my daughter to spend more time with my ex-mother-in-law. And so they want to abolish my existence in England, everything I have, who are the far-right extremists that are behaving as the left, who are in fact the left, or the left who is behaving as the right. But I say I like them, they don't like me, because they're acting, it's not genuine, it's false. And that's the problem I have with the left. I may like the left who is behaving as the right, but only if they are humbled. If they're not humbled, then they're false saints, and they're a false fraud, because they don't practice what they teach. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. So even though I have said I like them, I said it is only the most humbled, and those who have suffered and acknowledged what it takes to practice what you preach. My pet's eating her. She was eating her straw. But the heat wave has decided that she doesn't want to drink and she doesn't want to eat, which is very strange. She's eating a little bit. I want to fatten her up. My little Netherlands mini body. Okay, I'm going to drink. Yeah. So I was promised again for my food delivery for my pets that it would be delivered yesterday. It was never delivered because the message probably wasn't passed on or deleted to persecute me. Because I did send a message that my doorbell's not working and to gain entry in my property, which is a building block of flats. Hello, pet. They will have to ring me so that I could let them in. But they did not ring me because the message was deleted. So I'm being bullied and persecuted from the very shop, which is Pet's Corner. This has happened to me twice. So they're trying to help, but they're harming. Because they said I should be tracking and tracing it with my email, and I have opted out using my email for that. It's only for other purposes where I don't want to be tracked and traced by far-right extremists, so I've opted out. So they've decided to punish me for that. Yep, so I've paid, and it said it was going to be delivered. It was never delivered, so I'm not making any telephone calls. I'm not chasing them up until the following week, because I need to have a rest for a whole day without making any telephone calls. And I want to limit my telephone call to only one per day. And I'm hoping that next week, which would be the middle of June 2025, would be the last week that I make one or two telephone calls per day. And then after the subsequent week, which is next week, at the end of next week, I would like to switch all off and not use anything and just take time out and enjoy my summer holidays, because this is how they want to dominate, destroy my healthcare and destroy my holiday. While they have holidays once a month, they get impregnated and they're getting bigger and bigger. So it's a big bad bully. It's a big bad ugly bully. So we need to run a good race according to the Bible. And it says Jesus Christ it says neither circumcision nor uncircumcision has any value. The only thing that counts for faith is expressing yourself through God's grace. So through love means God's grace. And that means you know what it means to be harmed and to hurt because of a bully. How you are humbled, in the sense that you are sorry that you haven't helped anybody else who is bullied. So how can you be positioned to help somebody else who is bullied? So that there's lots of children, elderly, and the most vulnerable and pregnant women who are being abused, and no one is helping. They're all turning a blind eye. So it says this is what it means through love, through God's grace. And so that means to help without harming. Yeah. So that is where good politics comes from. It says you're running a good race. So I like to legally represent myself. I like to represent myself in all cases. And I will be chasing the following week until I find something. So help me God. It says run a good race. So in a spiritual run, I'm run the race, I'm in your face. Obeying the truth and the persuasion, convincing people. Yep. So I'm physically disabled, so I cannot run physically, I can run spiritually. I'm in your face and I've won the race. I'm confident in the Lord. So I've made prophecies. They've stolen my account, they didn't want me to have two accounts, which was mima.grebe.happy@gmail.com. That was stolen. And they've taken my ideas, what I said about Western civilization, all the things I had locked in a padlock, they've claimed it for themselves. So it's a power abuse, it's a rogue AI. It says, I'm confident in God to take alternative views, not only one-sided views and one-sided judgments, which is bad politics. The one who is throwing you over to be hit by a bus or throwing you over into confusion will pay the penalty. But however rich that individual, or no matter how much weapons of massive weapons of mass destruction that individual has, or how rich that individual is, God will make that individual, man, woman, boy, or even girl, child or adult, will pay the penalty. And I'm preaching and putting into practice what I'm teaching and preaching. This is why I'm being persecuted. So the evidence that you are putting into practice what you preach and teach is that you're persecuted. But if you have everything hanky-dory and you're never persecuted, then that means you're speaking, you're only talking, but you don't know how to walk the walk. So I do know how to walk the walk. I took care of my daughter for nearly 10 years. I had everything right. Everything I did was to my best ability. And the humblest was cheated of justice. And all my evidence was deleted. And they jeered at me and mocked me and said all your pictures and videos are worthless because you don't have money. So they're saying that the money makes the whole world go round and your evidence counts for nothing. Even if your evidence is an inheritance of hundreds of year-old documents, even then you're worthless without lots of money in your bank. And this is what President Trump is doing to destroy. And he's saying, we promise that we're going to not do that, and they do the opposite of what they say, which is a sinful human nature. And the conflict in which causes you to do self-harm, those who are not humbled enough, that means that you're only helping yourself and you're not helping someone else who is also bullied. And when you say you're sorry, in order to say that you mean that you're sorry, you will remove witchcraft, hatred of holiness, but the holy type of hatred is to hate evil. You will remove jealousy and envy and discord, selfishness, selfish ambition, all of this, adultery, immorality, all of this is obvious sexual immorality. As a sinful nature, to ask God to help you is to be humbled, to change and to reform and to remove all of these. Orgies, group sex, pornography, paedophilia. So it's okay to shave down there when you have to, for medical purposes and for the purposes of wanting to be extra clean during a menstrual period. You can clean better and you don't want things on pubic hair. But in most cases, to grow your hair normally, so it depends on the flow and how heavy the flow is. If it's particularly heavy, or if you have to have a surgery, or if you have to give birth, then it is for medical purposes better to have less pubic hair for the woman, but not for the sake of paedophilia. And also the same with armpit pubic hair. Yes, I've got some lotion to remove my pubic hair on my legs and my armpits in the summer, rather than using a razor, because that hurts, or wax. That's normally used for men, not women. Do not provoke anger in each other. Do not provoke anger in each other. So, for example, when I call somebody an idiot, I have a good reason for calling someone an idiot. But if I don't have a good reason to call someone an idiot, then I should not be using the word idiot. Not to be self-righteous. I am right because God made me right. I am good because God made me good, through long suffering and enduring evil. So do not provoke each other to anger through name insulting and anything, unless you know it is a tyrant. And do not go envying each other. Doing good to everybody is carrying each other's burdens. This is how God makes us good. Make sure that you know that you're somebody and not a nobody. Don't let something special go unnoticed into nothing. Do not deceive yourself. Test your own actions are louder than words, they say, but both. Test both. Test every spirit. Do not compare yourself to other people. Compare.com. Each one of us have a task and a job to do, and then allow each person the freedom to carry on doing their own tasks and roles. Be ready to receive instructions from the instructor that is an expert. Do not help professionalism for the sake of professionalism. Do hate false professionals who are practicing fraud and who are traitors, treacherous, and who are covered up criminals using their professional titles. They will reap their own destruction. Be ready to spiritually punch if you cannot do physical punching. That means wait for the proper time and place to reap the harvest of lost souls in hell, to help them out of hell. That's how you do good. So that is all founded for all people, how to have more humility, a good reason to avoid something. So I think it's a good, so that there's talk about protesting and how they say that it is the persecution of the cross of Christ, who also went down the street carrying the heavy burden of the cross. Is that going to be compared to people who are protesting on the street? And then it says an answer. We are circumcised to obey the law. If you're boasting on the street, protesting, and you break the law, then you have everything bad coming to you. But however, if you're boasting in the fact that you know what is right and you're making a protest to say this is wrong, and you haven't broken the law and making peace as peaceful protesters, then you haven't done anything wrong. So then it means you're not a troublemaker and you're not stirring anybody to make trouble in the market street or any public street. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ be with you in spirit, brothers and sisters, family in Christ, regarding those who are circumcised and not circumcised, all of us, in Ephesians book and Galatians book. So I really wanted to know the answer to the question in regards to me saying I'd rather choose those who are in the devil than those who are blessed by the devil. I'd rather choose those who are cursed in the devil, because those who are blessed in the devil will say that I am Ellen and Ellen is me, which is a serial killer, which is an identity. So an identity theft, and children's social services that do the identity theft, is the serial killer. It's the same as killing somebody's soul and or body. So emotional abuse is as bad as bullying, is as bad as physical abuse. So how can you survive that? Oh, unfiltered video. I had to do that squeak because I had pain. Normally a pause, but this time it's unfiltered, unpaused. Never be afraid of anything or anyone, whether they're not particularly good looking or are good looking. It doesn't matter. Only fear God. And if someone makes you jump out of your own skin, what could you do? Jump 6 feet? Jump high like a rabbit? Or should you smile and laugh at them for frightening you? With a smile on your face, with open, outstretched hands, give me a hug. Would you wear a golden wig? Well, is that how you confront a serial killer? If a child is ill, you're worried that the child's going to die or be poorly educated, according to what I have just read from the Bible. But there's a lot to investigate regarding this subject in the England of Somerset, how they can be dazzled and remove fear or being frightened, and how they can play either as fearmongers or warmongers, or they can do the opposite of that. So that's a new statistic I'd like to investigate. In Hampshire, I think, and what else in the country? I said Somerset. So Christianity, there's a good type of playing and role-playing, and there's a stupid type. God says those who stand at the very end will be saved. So hello there, how can I help you? And they have a big smile on their face. You'd want to probably run away a mile and can't wait to get away from them, who are too friendly. Actually, a type of a boxer's ring. They get ready for a fight. But not so when it comes to a Christian, true Christian. When they're smiling and being friendly, they should actually mean it. compared to the non-Christian beware, like a sign that says beware of the dog. Yeah. So, where else in the country? Nearby cemeteries. In every cemetery, people have just survived somebody who they know who have been very ill and died. What choice do they have from recovering? The possibility of recovering or escaping death. Someone who's very ill with a long-term illness. So I've mentioned a few counties in England, or cities, and I've mentioned all of cemeteries. There's not enough road signs or post signs in a hospital or cemeteries that give agents of these support network, particularly the Christians. So you have the Samaritans who are helping. How much more should the Christians be helping? So the Samaritans are helping all types. There's no discrimination. Compared to the Christians, how much more should they be helping, particularly after a pandemic and after a death? So near abortion clinics, in hospital, there should be a special department, and also in cemetery areas, all of them in England and America too, and all the Western countries. Oh, this pests. Oh. And I'm just checking and double checking. There is another village, Lenham in Kent, Maidstone, Portsmouth, where to do these statistics about help to harm, harm to help, and how it's extremely dangerous and it has to be monitored and taken very seriously, especially after the pandemic. Wow, 34 minutes. So this is my fun bit. This is my also very serious subject. Oh my. You see, you open the window and the door when the pests come in. There's a bin area in the back of the building. This is where the room is, which is outside bins and dog walking shite. Horrible. But the small little flies, if I hadn't shut the bin properly, is due to be collected tomorrow. I said that. Do most children have their tonsils removed? I think probably Donald Trump did. So also particularly look at these statistics of help to harm, harm to help in Lincolnshire. If that's the case in England, what about in Israel? What about in America? Yeah. That is the unexpected. Or they say, well, you with Friday the 13th, they say, oh, it's all about being superstitious. But is it only superstition? Is it simply the fact that you're not drinking properly, not eating properly, and you're not well? Which has nothing to do with superstition. It's illness. So you can't enjoy lovely flowers. You can't enjoy lovely food. Sunshine because there's too much pests around. I need to buy a special machine to kill the pests. You don't have any visitors. I haven't had any visitors for about 2 decades. Not a single friend that I could trust. Not a single friend that is on my side. They're only about the money, capitalism. Hemel Hempstead is another place to do the investigations and statistics in England. It's astonishing to know that these agents and these departments don't exist. So if I could make my own business, I would do something like counselling or signposting people in such departments to help them without the idea of harming them, at the same time disguised as a helper. Especially abortion clinics, so they can have an option of having adoption. Or it was too late, they already had an abortion, how they can seek either Christian counselling or non-Christian counselling for the after effects. As a result, my daughter doubts me and she doesn't believe me, she doesn't care about me because of the severe life changes. We cannot have any comfort, we cannot have school children and school friends associate with people from poor family backgrounds, and that's tragedy. We cannot cope as a result. Devon. So I'm looking at my local cities and counties, and so I believe America should do the same, South Africa should do the same, Israel should do the same, Ukraine should do the same. So give money and fund for this type of departments where they can provide free medication, aids, bandages, which is more important, medication, than actually providing so much money for weapons, because guns and weapons only cause more war and more. Nobody wins in battles and wars. It's no-win to no-win situation, because if anyone says that they have confirmed that they have won a battle, it's normally based on fraud and the overpowerment of weapons and money, not on fact, not on truth overall. So also looking at alternatives. If the government blocks you from purchasing your own medication, they would probably block you from growing your own herbs next. So I'd like to grow my own herbs. Never had that opportunity yet. Never have enough money for it. It's been gobbled up by horrible bills, by the oligarchies, and by the demeaning insults and injuries that's come upon me as a single woman, as a legal migrant, unfortunately, that I don't have a vehicle. This is awkward. Or I'm not in a remote location. This is also awkward. I should be in a remote location because of my status. And so that would be the best place for me in order to have recovery from constant abuse and constant bullying. And I said, yes, I'd like to vote one of these days, but it's very difficult when people are not vetted and when bad people are not excommunicated, when bad people are promoted. So therefore, it's a rugged cross. Should we contact Roxanne, the famous celebrity, about this? Because it's constantly changing. It's fresh and evil. It's not fresh and good. So it's bad politics. What's the point in voting? Should we accept newcomers, since newcomers are going to be shot dead? So it's a fraud when they say vote for us, because it doesn't actually fulfill your vote. Total fraud. They're not looking for quality. They're looking for quantity. So it's a gangster. It's not a government. The Lord help us. In order to start all over again, we have to dethrone and we have to have civil war. We have to have civil unrest. We have to have war in order to dethrone these bad leaders and have who are familiar to only their big clubs, but we're not in it. And it's a lie when you say vote. So they're only familiar to their own clubbers, their own rich class, or those who own lots of weapons. So the holy instructions are to be vetted for perversion, to be vetted for, is it self-motivated, is it for self or is it for the people? To be vetted for, are they apart from synagogue of Satan? To be vetted for, are they putting the innocent people in prison and killing the innocent people? And if the answer is an overwhelming yes, they're the bad guys, the good guys don't exist. Therefore, we must overthrow their altars of lies, their throne of lies, for free of charge. But that means we are signing up to suicide. How can you fight someone in a battle when you don't have any weapons? How can you overthrow the bad guy and the bad leaders and the gangsters when you don't have any money, don't have any weapons? You have to have more money, more weapons, and more people than them in order to destroy them. No. That's the initial chase. So God fights battle differently. We can't use weapons. We can't use a majority versus minority. We can't even use a disguise because they're spying on us with invisible cameras. But what we can do is stop voting for them. What we can do is round up all people that are against these corruptions and find a way to make them weaker, to make them stand out like a sore thumb, to be the very few. And sooner or later, they would commit suicide. The same as Hitler did. Or he ran away. He's still alive today. So it's the danger of exploitation and explosives for anybody who opposes corrupt governors and leaders. It is amazing to get along. If you can't work with them, you can't find a job, which is another problem. And it is also prophecy that's going to be a reality, it's going to be fulfilled. We just want extra time to block that bad prophecy being fulfilled, which is no one could sell or buy anything in the future without having the mark of the beast upon you, regardless of your qualifications. So, my coffee cup is now empty. I paid for it. I paid with it with my own blood. I don't have children. I'm childless. I don't have friends or family or a single friend. I'm not remembered for good. I'm remembered for whatever evil that they spouted out against me, which was untrue. And everything I have written about them, I won't apologise. And if I had apologised with a hand on my chest, it was because I was a newcomer to them, or they were the newcomers introduced to me. So God says, always be friendly to everybody. And if they are unfriendly to you as a newcomer, and they've harmed you, they have the blood of the innocent on their hands. So this is how I put my hand on the chest to say, I can only fight for my faith so far. However, I'm limited. I'm in the vulnerable, injured party here. And so it's dumbfounded when you expect the disabled people to fight battles or to be at the front lines of battle without any assistance, without any passengers. And I don't have any luggage. I'm out there naked, apparently. So this is how there's corruption in the AI and there's corruption in social media, underpass, underground. So as closing on the invisible world, we are momentarily a sleeping giant. We have to be confronting the bad giant, similar to David versus Goliath. And then you've got Katy Perry, who also claims to be a Christian. Whatever comes on her lips, is fulfilled by magic because she went to space. Oh. And what's next? Is she going to carry the curse of being a Mrs. Brown, marry a black man? So this marriage, which is multicultural, multi-race type, is a curse without God's assistance, and that's the amazing thing. It's not meant to be there for sinners. It's meant to be there for saints. Even then, think twice, because it's a huge list of integrating white versus blacks. It's a huge list of removing the curse with God's help. So in war, the Jews, for example, had 2 or 3 sexual partners and had sex slaves to survive. Again, they had lots of prams and pushchairs and babies that were bad, that turned out to be bad. And their paths were blocked. So what goes around comes around through this carelessness of making an exception for celebrity and Satan worshippers, even them calling themselves Christian, which is worse than a troll and is worse than a goblin. It's very rare to remove that curse, which is group sex, which is there's a name for that, and I don't remember it on the top of my head. And also intermarriage with other races. It's a moment of trembling and shaking with God's judgment. So this is, the group sex is, trying to remember the name of it now. It's polygamy, which is as bad as paedophilia, or child sex, or even animal sex. It's similar to burglary. So in conclusion to my video, looking at these statistics that don't exist, what I'm studying, it's very important to either live or die in the journey of living with God and through Christ, and dying with Christ, and living with Christ in the spirit and or flesh. So in closing, who else can help someone else's faith become stronger, not weaker, as mine? And remember the empty tomb of Christ, that he resurrected from the dead, and his teachers, and those as a teacher who listened to him, and those who opposed him in history times, both are relating the same, his enemies and friends, that he had died and resurrected from the dead. And many have seen him, not a vision, but actually have seen him after the death. And as my Christian faith says, we live by faith, not by sight. And God works in mysterious ways. So if you have the devil doing things fresh as fresh water, how much more is God doing a good thing as fresh water? I mean, unpredictable. God's personality is unchanging, the same today, yesterday, and forever. The same yesterday, today, and forever. The same yesterday, today, and forever. However, God's plans are always changing, which is even greater than any other holiday makers would plan out. So walking with Jesus Christ is greater than the greatest holiday you have in the top class 5-star hotels. So sort of like a widow, but was worse. I was worse than a widow, an unloved woman, from my gate, from my front door to the grave. Miraculously, God protected me from harm. And no one in my family was hurt. My daughter wasn't hurt. I was not hurt. It is those authorities from the right that have hurt us. And they're constantly hitchhiking up in the mountain somewhere, using their lift somewhere to get to the top peak of human rights abuses, treachery, and mask-coded racism. And if you can't call it racism, then if you can't call it racial profiling, then what it is definitely is hate crime against your personality, against your determination, against your peaceful crossed hands and peaceful rest. They normally hate peacemakers. They are warmongers. So, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, how would I close? Cornwall. Most people know Cornwall in England is a very popular place. I think that's a place where I would like to do research and also look at the true statistics. How they want certain people with certain personalities, not necessarily race, but certain personalities to get out. So it goes a lot deeper than that. They're against your spirit, they're against your soul, they're against your personality, which is even deeper than racism. They hate God, they're God haters. They hate peacemakers. So this is the modern problem, also using technology against us for that. You're not children of the devil. You are not God. You are not the devil's people. You're God's people. So they look at your personality. They won't give you assistance. They will report against your appearance. Even if you're a supermodel and you look perfect. If you have the wrong personality, watch out. They will torture you. They will torture you under mental health services. They would remove everything and do death threats on you. That's what I've come to realise. Traditionally, they were looking at racial profile, but it's a lot deeper than that. In the description and depiction of what they're doing is backdated to the Bible, where Peter grabs hold of the shoulder and he says, wake up, wake up. So they're calling it the woke, but we're calling it being alert. So there's a huge difference between wokeness and alertness. He grabbed his shoulder and said, wake up. Peter, wake up. This is in Acts chapter 17, I've even done a cup and a mug for that, to say that we do need each other's help, but priority-wise, we need God's help, because they will do the opposite of what you need and want, to ruin your reputation, to ruin your perspectives and plans. Shutting the mouth of lions in Daniel chapter 6, which is a religious perspective based on a bad political perspective. That means shutting the mouth of the arrogant. So they would give the impression that they're listening to you, when in fact they're taking notes how they can destroy you. That's a trick. They're not listening. They've shut their mouth to think of the next agenda, the next narrative, and the next plan how to destroy you. So silence in most cases is betrayal. So even though the mouths of the lions were shut in Daniel and they did not attack him physically, they attacked him spiritually, because he still had to speak to the original tyrant that threw him in there. Matthew chapter 28, because the original tyrant that threw Daniel in there was listening to everybody else about gossiping about him rather than from his own mouth. And then picking up a stone the size of a milestone, putting it around the neck of those who mislead and misguide the most vulnerable, children, elderly, who are frail, and younger, who are fragile, as in my case, which is all founded in the Bible. Flying high in the air, verse 14, verse 6. Put a heavy chain around their necks. And this is, I think, Matthew. Doesn't really tell me here. Trying to find where it says. You should always have 2 witnesses according to the Bible in John chapter 20, verse 12. Also the 2 witnesses on Matthew's account in the Bible, and the resurrection of Jesus in I think it's Matthew 28, I think. Yeah, so this is amazing and dazzling, to destroy the destroyers and betray the betrayers. Since they have a surprise element, we must also have a surprise element. Since they have been using bad politics, we must also look at good type of politics as a reality check, for a sense of peace and protection of the most vulnerable, which is our station, our base, our foundation, even our siren that is going to be sounded. So there's God fights a war in a different perspective, God fights a war in a different sense, because we also have to feel each other's vulnerability in order for the holy angels to help us versus the unholy hell angel. Yep. So there's always an overwhelming sense of peace, which is the bad surprise element, which the hell angels can make as much as the heaven angels can make. We have to be distinctively, discern what type of peace we are given. And it's usually, if it's associated to bad politics, it's extremely dangerous. So bad freedom, bad peace, even bad joy, and bad false virtues. So I've made this rare video, which summarizes Joshua in the Bible. And in closing, maybe this video will be the reason why my ex-mother-in-law will suddenly die sooner rather than later. And if that ex-mother-in-law dies, then I won't know where my daughter is. Suddenly she will disappear and I won't know where she is. For now I know where she is because of my ex-mother-in-law. I know where she is. But when she dies, I won't know where my daughter is, because my foster mum's not doing anything. She said she was going to do. I haven't had any confirmation yet. Maybe I'll have a confirmation by September 2025 that she's passed on my phone number to my daughter. At the moment, she's floating. She is similar to polystyrene. Yep. So, bad, undisciplined children who don't follow their parents' instructions and are disobedient. It's also a political overpowerment. So I've given my daughter clear guidance, remarkable help, and given her a good reason. So why would she repay me good for evil? Why would she want to abuse me, her own mum? Not all I've ever done is give her comfort while she bereaved me. So, yeah, I don't have to tolerate and put up with abuse. I don't have to do it. Enough is enough. However, I have never had to surrender to her until the police and government became involved. And even my state benefits, that's what they're looking to do. They're saying that my daughter will control my home, my civil rights, my freedoms. She will control everything since she's controlled by them. Therefore, I have no sympathy as a result. It's an enormous monster. And they are the child abusers. Why should I suffer in silence? Why should she suffer in silence? Why should she never know the truth? And the truth sets us free. Why should she, my daughter, be totally brainwashed and lose her soul to the devil because of them? She's being looked after by individuals who are not my friends, who are not my family. Even that one who had an asthma attack, who was in her 90s, the only lady I had who was Serbian, even she was infected by capitalism, which is a disease of society. It walks all over the blood of Christ. And it's probably coded racism is rooted in, so one law for the rich, another law for the poor, which is also coded racism. But as I say, if we can't call it racism, it's something else. It's a synagogue of Satan. It's looking at your personality. It's looking at your ability to be a criminal. And if you're not a criminal, they'll hate you. They'll take away all your money and your children. That's how I close my video. I've said enough. I'm Maria Marina, also known as Mima. It is Friday the 13th of June, 2025.